Morning, everybody. This is Helena Youmans. Helena, how are you doing? Can we go with Hels, though, because that's how I know you.
Hels is a lot easier.
Yeah, it is. And nice as well. So, Hels, we've known each other 5 years now.
Yeah, 5 years. It's flown by.
Is it 5 or is it 6? Because I've been at Durham 6, I'm starting my 7th.
I think I'm going into my 6th season at Durham, so I've done 5, but I didn't really have much to do with the extra side. I literally just came to play hockey in the first 2. So probably 3 full seasons of having me to look after.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And to be fair, you've been no bother in terms of looking after, because I guess that's not my job. But the evolution of you as a person has been something that I've been excited about. And we've had a load of conversations, and we've had some fun things at the end of last year. I can remember one moment with your mum in the cafe when you'd scored a few goals, and that was a really nice thing to see in terms of how you flourished. But I thought it would be a good idea just to have a chat with you around emotions, because you're certainly a very emotionally driven player, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Can be described as a volcano. I definitely erupt, and it's something I've learned over the 3 years of how to manage that and stop it boiling over, and just almost just be in touch with myself and know how I feel and how that's going to impact my performance on the pitch, but also outside off the pitch as well.
Brilliant. Yeah. The combination of those two things on and off pitch are vitally important, I think, for any athlete and any business person and any sports person in general, to manage both sides of those emotions, because they do topple from one side to the next. I still don't believe you can just leave things at the gate of the hockey pitch and then go on and play it. I think we carry a lot of baggage, don't we?
Yeah, and I think you do it a lot without knowing. You think, oh, I'll distract myself as soon as I'm on the pitch, but something happens and you start crying, and it's not because of the pitch, it's definitely to do with off the pitch. Or yeah, it's hard to really split the two.
Fab. And I don't want to give all of our trade secrets away, Durham, but we do have our little AAA process that we work on a little bit as well. And this whole understanding of where your emotions are at any given moment is something that we've tried to implement a little bit. You're certainly somebody who's been more aware of your emotions over the last sort of 4 to 5 years, but definitely the last 12 to 18 months, I think you really accelerated that journey. What made you do that? Or how did that happen?
I think during first and probably the first half of second year, I was very much being, I think, more of the person that I thought everyone wanted me to be. So I wasn't really, when I look back, accepting of it. Whereas definitely the second half of second year and going into third year, I wanted to change how I thought about myself and wanted to accept that I am, when I'm on the pitch, I do get passionate and sometimes it comes out wrong, and it's not, I think in first and second year I was really sometimes quite embarrassed about how I would react, whereas third year it was more accepting, yeah, that's what I'll do, but I know how I can change it and get on the pitch and change it and just accept that I'm going to be like that.
Okay.
Because that is how I'm wired.
Yeah, we'll talk about the wireman thing a little bit later on as well, and we've got a nice little analogy, I think, to go with too. But let's start with that word that gets thrown around a lot around you, the S word.
Sassy.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, I came into Durham as a pre-fresh, so I was, I think, 17 maybe at the time, and it's quite a big environment for a 17-year-old. Obviously, I'm very comfortable in it now, but going into with some big characters, training on a Monday, that hockey to me then was just turn up, play a game, train. But when I got invited to come and train with Durham, it was, no, this is performance, and if you do something wrong, you're probably gonna get told. And I didn't react in a negative way. I think just my reactions were known, and I'm quite direct. So for a 17-year-old to be as direct, I sort of got the label as sassy. And then when I then went into my second season, I played more of a role and I was still sassy. And yeah, it's just something that was labeled to me. And I think at the end of second year, beginning of third year, I wanted to move away from that almost in my head. It didn't annoy me, but it was a bit like, oh, I don't want to be that player. And it was almost doing like a circle of then, oh no, actually, maybe that's a strength of yours and just play it as a positive. But yeah, I do get that label a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because that it's a word that does get thrown around, and I hear it a lot, especially with some of the coaching staff with you as well, and you talk about it, and you know the leadership team talk about it, and I talk about it, and I don't think it's a negative. I think it has negative and positive sometimes. So tell me some of the positive stuff about you being sassy. What do you bring when you're at your most sassy best?
I think it drives me. It's my competitiveness. So I think sometimes I get called sassy because I'm direct, but I think when I get my direct right, I think it really drives me and accelerates my performance. Also, though, I think I can have a joke around and a bit of a laugh, which comes into it. So when I'm a bubbly person, so when I'm in a good mood and I'm on it, I think it spreads around the team. So I think that's positives.
No, I agree. And if you keep that and if you're aware of that in terms of your good days, and that's what you bring to any team in terms of hockey, in terms of what you've done with Durham, but also I guess if we were doing some interviews for any jobs right now, then actually as an employer, that's the side of you I'd want to see, because that brings a lot of benefits to an organization.
Yeah, I remember going. I got an internship with Enterprise, summer internship, and I was in the interview, and the guy was talking about retirement, and I just turned around and said, "Oh yeah, I want to retire by 40." And he was like, he took a few breaths in, and he was like, "God, yeah, me too." And I just things that not well, sometimes confidence and sometimes that bit of directness does help me out, because I'm not afraid to say some things, and I think it does give me a bit of an edge sometimes.
And the one thing you alluded to there is actually when you're at your most positive sassy self, your performance improves.
Yeah, definitely. I go on just knowing I want to be within the team. I want to be the best forward that's on the pitch. I want to score a goal, but also against opposition, I want to make the defenders work, and I want to score against them. Which is why I love it when people shove me on the pitch, because it brings my competitive sideness out. On a good day, on a bad day, it riles me up a little bit, and I do let it get sometimes. And players do end up being like, "Oh, the angry one," but on a good day, it helps me out.
Yeah, so maybe sassy's the wrong word when we're describing you on a good day, because actually they're all the traits that I want in my team. They're all the traits that we've worked on that I think helps you excel in terms of your performance. But also, if I was employing you, there'd be all the things I'd want you to do within my organization as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes, I think as well within a team, it depends how the team takes the word. If you take the word as negative and it's already got negative things related to it, then unfortunately the next person with the term sassy might have it. But if it's seen as a good thing, it just depends on the environment you're in, really.
Yeah, and I don't know whether you remember my first year when we were starting to redefine the reassuringly talented phrase, because actually externally people will define it as something completely different to how we define it, because that's our ownership, you know, in terms of the words and the phrases that we've used to build our culture over the last 5 to 6 years. Then actually we know what it really means to us.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing to have on your back, but it's just because the people that are above you at Team Durham, and they will believe in you if you take it the right way. It's just a bit of a confidence boost, I see it.
And a little bit of history as well. So, you know, it's something that's been there for a significant period of time now. You on your sassy worst, tell me about your bad days.
Oh, me and my bad days. I would argue probably with the umpire. I would probably not argue, but question the coaches a bit too much. And I'd probably be a bit irritable. that's when I think it comes out. And I'm also, I don't think, I have a bit of a fog, so I'll react to something, to someone that doesn't do well with being reacted to like that. So there's people in our team that I know that I could turn around and I could snap and it would be fine, but then there's people that I know I have to think about what I say before I say it, and on a bad day thinking goes out the window a little bit.
And the best part about the last 30 seconds is that I think up till maybe 18 months ago, you wouldn't have even been aware of those things. You would have just like let them go and fly past, or bury them under the carpet, or let the volcano go nuts. And now we can have this honest conversation about, you're so aware of good days and bad days. Now we have the ability to start to identify what we need to do to slow some of the bad days down or stop the spiral a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think and coming down to it of just acknowledging that that's me. And I think the start of third year, definitely, there was so many thoughts in my head about, am I happy with how I behave? And it wasn't about changing it. It was just acceptance, really. And that's me. And I can either cry about it or just get on with it and enjoy it.
Yeah, so tell me about that one then. If you're crying in a game, how good is your performance going to be?
Very poor. Yeah, there was a few examples this season that crying got me nowhere, it turns out.
Yeah, and it's that for me, it's that emotional spiral that we get involved in. So an event happens. Let's just say you make a tackle and the umpire sees it differently, and then either cards you for it or gives you a foul. If you're at your, let's call it that sassy negative self, then we react negatively, our behavior changes, and then that one moment has a massive effect on the whole game because you can't get out of the spiral. You stay there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something I've worked on. If I get a card, that's fine, it's 2 minutes of the game. There's still 68 more minutes, and I can make a massive impact in those rather than just focusing on those 2 minutes. And I think when I did get carded in first year, it was almost embarrassing, and I went into my shell and I was like, this is horrible. Where third year I was like, okay, I've got a card, I better get on and work harder so that everyone forgets it.
Yeah, and actually if you score, then the one thing that people don't talk about afterwards is the 2 minute card that you got. They all talk about the goal and the win, don't they?
Yeah, it was just definitely another point that's helped me out. I spent first and second year trying to find a position that I played well in or I excelled in, and it was always getting moved about. And there's only so much you can take of people being like, no, they want you in the team, Gaz wants you in the team, that's why he's moving you about, he wants you in the 16. So it was finally nice to find a position that more than one person were telling me that suits you and you were doing well. So that was always nice.
I think when we talk about emotions, Hels, and we talk about emotional intelligence, we tend to focus sometimes on the negative. And you've known me over the last 4 to 5 years, and I hope that I come across in terms of trying to get you to be more positive, because your sassy positive self has the spiral the other way, because your performance levels just increase, and your ability on the pitch to play the game of hockey, we all know what that is. So that your capability is still quite high. We just needed to always have you in that mindset that you could just start to allow the spiral to go up and be more positive on a game by game situation.
Yeah, definitely. And so when in second year, I think it was in Preseason, was the first time that I got moved positions. So straight away the season was a bit of like, oh God, now I've got to go again, getting changed everywhere. Whereas third year, Gaz came back in, put me as a forward and said, that's where you're going to be. And it just went up rather than down and up.
I still remember that little chat that we had walking around the cricket pitch last year at pre-season, though, where again, we're still having these little emotional kind of confidence moments, or maybe kind of like, am I good enough? Am I confident enough? How did you get over that? Because you had a great season. You scored a load of great goals this year as well. I'm not sure all the celebrations were great, but
I've never had to celebrate before.
Yeah, it's kind of like after I scored 2 goals, how do I celebrate the next one? I can't.
Yeah, I was like, confidence weird. Confidence-wise, I think just I came in to the program as a pre-fresh, and it was always I felt that Gaz had to put me in the team because I was 17, and it was a bit of a demoraliser if you put her in 1 week, next she's out, and as though you think you're grown up at 17, you're not, and it would have been hard for me. So when I came into the uni as a proper student and fully part of the performance, I was still in the mindset of Gaz is only putting me in this team because his best friend is my coach at school and he can't drop me. And it took me a while to get over that. And I don't pretend I have, I don't have any international caps. And when you get into a performance team like Durham, it's hard to find someone in your team that hasn't had an international cap behind them. And for me, I am competitive. In school, you are the best player, and then you come to an environment like that, and it's like, oh no, now you've got to really work hard. And it definitely was a confidence thing, and almost judged my capability and ability on, am I good enough to get into the team on international caps, rather than, no, you've just developed later than everyone else. And looking back, I was never good enough to play international. It was only really the last 3 years where I've really, been on par with other people. So that definitely was a confidence thing. But I think just telling myself almost just to get on with it. I can't change it, so just get good now.
Yeah, to be fair to you, I think you've done a little bit more work than just that over the last sort of 3 to 4 years, and that's maybe your confidence is still a little bit in the sense that you haven't acknowledged or accepted the fact that listen, I know where I am, I know my negatives, I know my positives. These are the things I need to do in order to stay more positive. And actually, you've worked really hard on that. You've worked hard physically, you've worked hard technically and tactically, but you've also worked quite hard mentally in terms of not controlling the emotions, but actually controlling the real positive emotions. And that's not to say you still have your moments of negativity, because you're human, Hels. We all have that. I still have it now. And the fact is that you will always have it, but it's about trying to be more aware of them and actually changing that state so that it allows you to be more positive and have more of an impact on and off the pitch as well.
Yeah, I think I'll always have in me the erupting stage. I can't remember what game it was, but I just cried and cried after the game, and it was definitely last season, and I would have probably bottled it up and done it at home, but it was when we were cooling down and I was just in tears. And I think it's important to show that vulnerable side to the team, and that is me, and that is my way of showing my emotions. I don't do it as often, so I think I did it twice this season, but that's just another example of just doing that, really.
And you talked about our wireman before and how we're wired, and the reptilian part of the brain still will only see that fight, flight, or freeze mentality. That's all that it's got. So the sooner we can move from that part of the brain to another part of the brain that allows us to have that pause, allow us to physiologically change and relax a little bit, then actually we're going to stick to the response that part of the brain wants to give us. And if that part of the brain wants to give us that kind of that flee, that freeze, that fight kind of mode, then you have to be aware of that response first and foremost. So on the pitch, you're more, I would say, fight.
Yeah.
But off the pitch, you're probably a little bit more kind of flee, a little bit kind of like in yourself a little bit, crying a little bit, get a little bit nervous, lacking a little bit of confidence sometimes. And that's all something we all have. The fact is that you've been more receptible to actually going, yeah, that is me. How do I then make that or turn that into a positive so that my spiral doesn't continue to being miserable for days on end or weeks on end, or having a whole season of being really negative in terms of your play?
Yeah, And I think my fight does, because me and Gaz, I think, are quite similar. So when we get going, I think I would turn around and fight in my head. And that was something I had to get over almost. Well, not get over, just take a breath before I reacted to anything that came about. I think it's with all coaching as well.
When we're talking about fighting, Helen, I don't mean Helena. I don't mean that you're literally lamping Gaz.
No.
Although between me and you and the couple of thousand people who have watched these, I still think you might win.
Yeah, I know. I think so. There's definitely been days where I could have, but I didn't. Which obviously because I probably would have got told to leave the uni.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's good, and just taking what he says and with a pinch of salt, but not even that, but breathing before I react. And I think when I was in a fresher or second year, it would be I'd need 2 days, so we'd play on the Saturday, he'd say something or something wouldn't go well and I'd need the whole weekend to get over it, and come in such a better mind. Whereas now, I remember the Nottingham game, something happened in the game, and within a couple of hours I went over and I wanted to talk to Gaz and speak to about it, what had happened. I think that was a lot of growth, just seeing everything from a wider mindset.
And I'm glad you used that word growth, because we do talk about that a lot. But for me, that concept that you just taught me there, that's just you shifting the part of the brain that you're now working in. If you're in that reptilian brain and you are completely in either fight, flight, or freeze mode, then actually you're stuck in it. You're stuck in it, and you have to make sure that we make a shift to a different part of the brain in order to function differently as well. So an event happens, I'm stuck in reptilian brain, I respond like either by crying or punching somebody in the face or getting sent off. So in order for me to stop that, I need that step back, I need that strategy, I need that intervention, I need that pause, I need that breath. Whatever it is, we need to find something that we can just shift where the brain is actually functioning in order to be more positive.
Yeah, and I wrote on my glove actually, I'm really bad for not getting 5 meters. I think that's a sort of a trigger when I'm like negatively high D, is that I don't react to decisions. So I have on my glove 5 meters and chill, because get 5 meters, take a breath, and it'll stop me from the spiral. So I think just knowing what you need to do to get yourself in a positive mindset, because playing in a team sport, it's great, you have 10 other people around you, but if you have a role in the leadership team and your potential actions impact the team, it's not so great. So yeah.
And you are the third person that I've had on from the women's team in terms of these little chit chats that we've been having. And the leadership team has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. If I look at where Durham University women's hockey team was 6 years ago to where it is now, everybody has played a part along the way in terms of Kilner's captaincy, Kat's captaincy, who's captain this year? Kerry Ann's captaincy. Yeah, so every captain and every part of that leadership team has massively made an emotional shift in order for us to get to where we are today. And we have to understand that everybody who's gone before us has played that part too.
Yeah, we have changed a lot, and almost it's not even the belief within the team, people outside. I know we are really lucky that we're a joint club with the boys, and they have been phenomenal over the last 5 years and getting into Prem is just crazy, and we'll support them. But they believed in us this season, which I don't think they really have. It was almost, the girls might, but they believed it as well, which was quite nice.
And that's their culture shift as well, by the way, because they've had a massive culture shift too. Yeah. And that's why you guys got Club of the Year. Phenomenal effort. Yeah,
we had a good season. All teams really. It's just a great club to be part of, really, isn't it? So.
It is. I'm going to say yes. I want to ask you about your beliefs emotionally, because they've certainly changed over the last 4 to 5 years. But hopefully your mom and dad won't watch this, but where do your emotional beliefs come from? So we all get given something, and at some stage of your life, Hels, if you haven't already said this, you're like, oh my God, I'm just like my mom. Or, oh my God, I'm just like my dad. So where do they come from? Where does your sassiness come from, do you think?
I think my competitive drive and that directness comes from my dad. What I probably get from my mum is probably my independence from my mum. My dad works away, so my mum had a lot to do when we were little. She's very independent, and that's where I got my independence from, I reckon, and almost maybe too much. I think look back and I think maybe I've been a bit too independent and thought that I could do everything myself and fix problems myself, which is definitely, with my mental stuff, was a bit not an issue, but I remember someone saying to me, if it's been going on for more than 18 months, maybe you don't have the tools to fix it. And it was true, that independence and my not reluctancy to get help, but to ask for help. But yeah, my competitiveness and my fieriness from my dad, which is great. But yeah, I think that's where my beliefs come from.
And that's certainly where we carry emotional beliefs, and not a lot of people really understand them in terms of, where they've come from and why do I have them. And once we're aware of those emotional beliefs and where they come from, then we're able to decide whether they're good or bad for us. And because unfortunately we're not our parents, or we're not our friends that we've grown up with in terms of school, or we're not working now with the coach that actually instilled some values. We're now at a different stage. So we have to really start to be aware of those different beliefs and whether they're hurting us at this moment in time or whether I need to tweak them a little bit. And I think you've made those little tweaks over the last 4 to 5 years quite regularly. Some have been unconsciously done. So I think you've known that they've been needed to change, but you haven't wanted to. And then others, you've just gone, right, wow, I need to do something about this.
Yeah, I think my dad and the environment where he works is quite macho, and he doesn't talk about his emotions a lot, and it's all kept quite bottled up. And I think I sort of went through a phase of mental health, or that won't affect me, or no, that's never been talked about in my house really, so why would that ever affect me? Where I realised, no, that's probably why it's affecting me, because I don't speak about it and I don't talk about it. So that was definitely a change in belief, that I changed myself and spoke about it more honestly. But yeah, there definitely, you do see some changes, some similarities, and definitely being locked up in a house for 10 weeks with them, you definitely see where your things come from. But yeah.
And again, that's part of that whole reflection process in terms of being a better person, being a better hockey player, being a better member of Durham University Hockey Club is all about that action to change, isn't it? And you know how many times I've said over the last 4 to 5 years, performance psychology is not just a pink and fluffy, lie down on the couch, let's just have a chat. It's about an action. You have to go and commit to doing something afterwards. Otherwise, you're just having a chat and a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I think in first year, I remember coming to see you, and I sort of knew that I needed to change, but I was at first year uni, I was playing hockey, I was having a great time, and I just let things like keep going, and I didn't really put the commitment in change. Whereas second year and third year is really where I was like, no, we can do daily things, weekly things, and we can not change, but just understand better.
Yeah, it's really funny, and I don't know whether Gaz will remember this now, but in pre-season, Gaz asked me why we went for a chat around that cricket pitch. And I said, he said, is Hels all right? I said, she's absolutely fine. I think she's going to have a great season this year. And I had a feeling that you were going to have a good season as an individual, but also as a team, based on that conversation. And there's no secret in why I thought that, because actually it was one of the first times you've just gone, right, Graham, I'm ridiculously open with you now. There's no wall. There's no barrier. This is how I'm feeling. How do I fix this? Maybe fix is the wrong word, but how do I get better? How do I make sure that I secure my place this year and I actually thrive as an individual in this team this year? And we had a couple of walks around the cricket pitch as it was at the time. It was a beautiful sunny day. And we just looked at how do we just allow you to have that confidence to flow and go and play. And rightly or wrongly, whatever happened and whatever you did and the work that we've done, you had a great season as an individual and as a team. And you played a major part in the team's success.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the first and second year where I just was the person I thought people wanted me to be. And I've always had it in my head where I am a bit of a badger. I want to get fit. I want to be the fittest. I wanted to score goals. You know, if all the other forwards scored a goal, I'd be happy for the team, but I'd be annoyed because I hadn't scored a goal. And I think just the third year, I was like, God, this is potentially my last year. I need to actually show why I'm here. And I like the professional element of it. And I wanted to be one of the best forwards we had. So I'm not saying that.
Yeah, good. And it's funny that because I had the same conversation with Kerry Ann about the Commonwealth Games in 2022. And she was so reluctant to turn around and say, yeah, I want to be part of the Scotland squad and I want to go to the Commonwealth Games. And when we did her little chat, she actually said it on camera as well. I was like, yeah, there you go. Done. Because once it's out there, the pressure's gone.
Yeah.
Actually, the pressure and the narrative you create in your own head about, I want to go to the Commonwealth Games or I want to be the best forward, you're bottling that. That's the volcano that we talk about, the fact that you bottle that so much at some stage it's got to come out.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. Let's get it out in the open. Some people turn around and go, what do you mean you want to go to the Commonwealth Games? Or what do you mean you want to be the best centre forward? But that's on them. That's not on you.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been what I've realised is sometimes I'll say things and people will be they'll, instead of a positive reaction, they say, oh, why? And I think I've got over of their initial reaction making me doubt it. Now I'm like, that's their reaction. I want to do it. Like I said to my dad, I want to renovate a van and live in it. And he was like, why do you want to do that? And now I'm like, okay, you have that belief, but I will get a van, renovate it and live in it. And I think fresher Helena wouldn't have been able to do that, where now I can say things back myself. And I can say, if it doesn't work out, I'll eat my words and that's fine.
But you'll have learned a lot of stuff on the way. Not everything in life that we start off doing works out perfectly, because it just doesn't. But if I don't have a goal, if I don't try, where's my learning? Where's my growth? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and just accepting that things won't work out, and if it doesn't, that's fine. You've not lost.
Next project. By the way, that I do a lot of parent sessions on a Tuesday morning. If you want to book your dad in, by the way, when he's home.
Yeah, maybe.
Right, Hels, last question for you. If you could go back to being a freshman now, what advice would you give yourself as an individual? What would you want to change about that first year? Because you have had an incredible journey. Could it have been a little bit better if we started a little bit earlier? Who knows? But what advice would you give your freshman self?
I would say to her, back yourself and stop caring what other people think.
Okay. And then my final question for you is, what advice would you give to the new fresh, boys and girls, by the way, because for me, there's no difference. Once we get past that ego, we're all going through the same issues. We all have the same emotional beliefs and we all have the same emotional responses, some positive, some negatives. What top tips would you give to any of the new fresh coming in this year?
I'd tell them that just throw yourself into it, every aspect. I went to every single support team. You know, you pay a hefty amount on subs, use everyone. I think I went to psych, physio, everything in the same week. The coaches aren't there to annoy you, they're there to support you. So if they say things, they're only there to improve you. and just enjoy it, because you'll see all the people when we come back for old boys jealous of the position you're in. It flies by, and that's why I'm saying for an extra year.
Yeah, no, you're right. It does fly by, and you're right. The coaches are not there to kind of make you feel worse or to play about it. I have Sean T and Sandy sessions every day. He keeps shouting at me, going, "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to make you better."
Yeah.
My legs don't feel like that, but actually maybe the next day they feel, oh yeah, they are a little bit better. And that's what the coaching staff, the support staff, and everybody around Durham just tries to help you just take that next part of your journey to the next level.
Yeah, don't see them as teachers or school teachers that you've just come from. You know, they're more likely to treat you like adults. And the first thing that you'll realise is they'll tell you to meet you down in London on a Tuesday morning, get yourself down there, and that's when you realise you're not in school anymore. And I think just treat them as adults, they'll treat you like adults, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you get to have that one-to-one fresher meeting with me walking around a cricket field or sitting down for the first time, and we start talking about profiling and what's going on in your head, and everyone just goes, oh my God.
Yeah. Preseason 6 weeks is fun and hard, but yeah, come to Durham.
Absolutely. I'm going to finish on one more because we forgot to talk about this as well, and I know you do a lot of horse riding. And I think the fact that the analogy about you starting to ride a horse that's never been ridden before and understanding the horse, tell me about that story that you're telling me before, because I love that. It's exactly like looking after you guys.
Yeah, I think it is. So I've got a mare girl horse and a gelding, a boy horse. And it's just learning what you can do with them and how best to approach them. So with the mare, it's convincing her that it's her way and it was her idea and everything will be fine. But where it's with the boy horse, it's telling him, no, we're doing this, and he'll follow on. And it's just quite interesting. And then you look at it from a human perspective and you're like, yes, I can see that now. With us, it's the girls, we need to, oh yeah, London Week's good. Yeah, it was our idea to do that, where I can see an email going out to the boys saying, here you go, 9 a.m, see you there.
Yeah. I love that analogy when you were telling me that before, because I was thinking, yeah, that's exactly how we've tried to work with you guys, because the girls team and the boys team are completely different. You're different individuals. It's a different program, and we need to be more adaptive and responsible to you guys as individuals, exactly how you are with the horse.
Yeah, no, it's good it's nice. I'm looking forward to going back in probably a completely different headspace, and look at the freshers coming through and seeing them be all silly, and then you'll see them in a couple of years' time and they'll be like, because I remember Gaz saying to me, someone who was in 4th year, he was like, I don't have to worry about them, they've just got it. And I've always wanted to be those people that he can turn around and be like, Hels, she's got it, I don't have to worry about her.
And you are back.
I am back.
You are back. Year. So I'm looking forward to our little walk around London this time. In terms of, I think the question would be slightly different. It'd be like, okay, so which of the fresh do you think needs a little bit of help this year?
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully I can help them a little bit. But I don't think, maybe we'll get down to 1 game in tears and less reactions. So I don't know, it's all with growth and just, yeah.
Hels, I love that, and I also love what you've done over the last 4 to 5 years. You've been a pleasure for me working with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next year. So you have a good rest of the day. Go and ride that horse and learn a little bit more.
Yeah, I will.
All right, speak soon. You take care.
Bye.